Hey y'all, it's your girl Bet on BB here, and thanks for tuning in with me for this little career recap. Let's talk about it. If you have not been under a rock and you've been seeing my last few videos, you know that your girl not too long ago switched from restaurant to tech sales. Complete 180 when it comes to career industries, and doing it in my 30s. As if there's ever a good time to switch your career, but I'm really doing something very different. And even if you're new here, make sure that you go ahead and you hit the link below, subscribe, tune in with your girl if you're liking these career recaps, because I plan on having quite a few videos where I talk about my transition into the tech industry and maybe even have some pretty helpful tools for people that are thinking about doing the same for themselves. So this video is all about what I wish I knew before switching into the tech sales industry. So let's get it. If you know anything about the restaurant industry, you know fast paced would be an understatement. If you watch that show, The Bear, you know that there's this little sticker on that show that says every second count. And for me, I was a front of the house manager. So let me just tell you, every second counts is not just for chefs. Literally, every second counts, no matter what you're doing at any position. It's like you're always on a stage. You're always expected to perform and provide an excellent amount of service to pair with the excellent food and drinks that your guests are expecting to have. And as a manager, it all falls on you. If something goes wrong in the kitchen, something goes wrong with reservations, something goes wrong with service, they're not asking for the chef, they're asking for the manager or the owner. And that's simple as that. So you are a master problem solver. So jumping from a fast-paced industry to another fast-paced industry of tech sales, I thought I would be more quick to adjust, which if you can work in a restaurant, especially if you can be an operator for a restaurant, there's really not too much you can't handle. It's not too many jobs out here where, aside from maybe like customer service or retail jobs, where you deal with as many people problems face to face on a regular basis as being a restaurant manager. So I do feel like that is my competitive edge with switching over to tech sales. You think a lot of tech people are more people that are used to working remote or working with computers. And me, I have real people skills, which in an AI generated world, I feel like kind of puts me at a cut above the rest, to be honest. So I thought sales was going to be my way into the tech world because I can use my people skills, but also it is fast paced, and it, for the most part, for people who are looking to switch industries, is entry level. It's a lot of entry level roles, specifically BDR roles or SDR roles, where you're going to have to do the grimy work of cold calling. So that's the first thing I was not expecting. Or I knew what to expect in the interviews, but that's the biggest lifestyle change that I wish I knew about. Here, the people skills are on the phone. It's not face-to-face, door-to-door sales. It's phone selling. And when you're switching to that type of lifestyle, it can be nerve-wracking. It's a different type of nerve-wracking than when you unlock the doors and you let all of those crazy guests in who are ready to eat their food, and they are just wanting to dine with you and experience with you, and the problems just come as they may. And fortunately, if you work at a really good restaurant, you'll get more positive feedback than negative. And then the really negative, you just have to deal with it. And, you camaraderie with your team about it later at night, which brings me to the other part of lifestyle. A restaurant environment. The restaurant environment is very, very team oriented. Everybody, there are some bartenders or some servers or even managers and owners who have egos, but everybody's got an ego until the dishwasher walks out on you. And now you're going to be the person that's up washing dishes till 2 a.m. Everybody affects everybody in a restaurant. And so with that, everybody knows at the end of the day, even if there are some people that they don't like, even if there's some clashing because it got really, really stressful during dinner or lunch rush, everybody knows they need to work together. And in the sales environment, that could be a little bit more competitive on the floor, depending on where you're at. But even if in some spaces, the people on the sales floor, they have different territories, so they're mindful not to like take other people's territorial things. There's going to be that competition where it's like, did this person book more meetings than me? Did this person get more closed deals than me? So the environment switches a little bit more, especially depending on your office setting. A lot of tech sales, from what I'm seeing, is either remote or hybrid. And I'm in Chicago, so there's a lot of hybrid roles where you might come in 3-4 days a week and be able to work from home whenever. Aside from that, for the rest of your hours, or depending on what your quota is, it's different for every company. So coming into a office environment made me feel like such a baby boomer when I'm looking at how the things are set up. Like, it's not all cubicled up like the last time I've worked in a corporate setting. Like, it's a very open air co-working lounge. It kind of reminds me of like the co-working space of a dormitory. And I see that that's the trend with a lot of tech spaces in their office. And that is a completely different lifestyle than a dining room for me. So then the last but not least, and honestly the most important, depending on where you might be stationed, your territories and the time zones that you're going to be in might change how your office is. Like for me, I'm out of Chicago, but I call the South Los Angeles area. So I'm 2 hours ahead of my time zone, and most of my team in the pretty much all of my team in the office. So when everybody else is coming in and having lunch, I'm coming in and starting my breakfast meetings. And when everybody's gone, that's when it's prime time for me to get some calls out. So I wasn't really expecting that for sure, but it did give me some really unfair advantages in its own way. It really just depends on how you look at it and how things will work for you. But that's one thing I just was not expecting. So that covers the whole lifestyle portion of what I wish I knew before I switched my field. Now, stability. Stability is something that, since the pandemic, everybody has a very, very different view on what job stability is. I thought the job I had before I got laid off in the pandemic was very, very stable, especially for Chicago. But life happened. And then as you get older and you see how many things are going, where technology is advancing and how roles are changing, and the period of time we are in this millennium, it's like everybody is bouncing from job every 2 years now, when people used to stay at jobs for 30 years. And it really made me reflect on what I thought stability was. And I felt like restaurants were a little bit more stable. Like, the one thing that everybody has in common in the world is they like to eat on occasion and go out. And I feel like, surprisingly, if you're willing to work hard and do physical labor, like, restaurants are still a pretty stable job and stable form of income. I know that for a fact. Like, if I decided to leave my job, I could just go right into managing a restaurant or serving or whatever, because I have the skill set to do so and do it quickly. And I'm also in a big foodie city like Chicago. So somebody's always hiring. So that's one cool thing. Versus the tech industry, with the AI boom, it's a lot of system engineers and coders that are scared of losing their jobs to AI. So again, that's what made me choose the sales aspect, because I felt like, people skills are going to be the least of AI's worries, because there's not an AI enough that's going to have a soul. Especially in my field, like, I went from restaurant to restaurant technology. A lot of people want to buy from people, and that's something that still requires my expertise. So that is one cool thing about it. I feel like I have a quality that a machine can't mimic. And when you look at it that way, things like restaurants are going to be around a long time, and they're always going to need managers and people. Let's talk about salary. Whew. Now that is a difference. So restaurants, once you're at the management level, there are a lot of managers that aren't even making as much as their servers and bartenders. You would think that they get paid more, but in reality, No, they work harder. They usually stay a lot later. They're a lot more on call than the hourly or tipped wage employees. But once you're a really highly skilled bartender or server, I know quite a few servers that are making over six figures, and they wind up staying in that career for a long time because, I mean, if all you need is a food certificate and a alcohol certificate, which is all of what, $30 in Illinois, and you can make six figures, why wouldn't you want to do that? Even if you're going to be slaving for that money sometimes. Like, they are really dealing with a lot of people problems, and they are expected to perform at a high level of serving. Now, I'm talking about fine dining, casual fine dining and up, those servers and bartenders. If you're working at a place that's a lot more casual, then you might not be making that much. So the stability could be different. Now, what is different for sure is the benefits. Nothing beats corporate benefits. It's not a lot of restaurants. Before the pandemic, restaurants weren't even treating their employees as if they were employees. You were an independent contractor, and a lot of people did not offer benefits. The pandemic made people want to say, oh, what can we do to keep restaurant workers? And that's when restaurant workers started having medical benefits and so on and so forth. But those benefits, you got to keep in mind that restaurants are companies that have such small profit margins. Restaurants are lucky to get 5% profit, many of them. And there's such a high turnover for restaurants. We're talking like 1 to 3 years is pretty much the average a good chef-driven restaurant is going to be around. And that is not good for benefits. It's too expensive to get really good benefits. So a corporate company is going to be able to offer you medical, vision, dental, life insurance, in some places, equity in the company. Like, so the benefits, corporate benefits meet all day. Okay. Glasses, new glasses prescription, got some new glasses. Everything is on fleek with corporate benefits in comparison to restaurant. Like, and it's sad because you would think as much mental and physical stress is on your body from restaurants, business owners would invest more into their employees' health. But it's a sad truth about that restaurant job, and that's why a lot of people go in to make those quick bucks, and they don't look at it as a career in the long term. So that is one huge difference in terms of finances with the transition over to tech sales. But on the not so good side, tech sales, you got to understand there's a completely different structure than being a server or a bartender, even though the commission aspect is kind of like the tips aspect. So in sales, you have what's called OTE pay, which is your on target earnings. So basically, once you hit your performance metrics, you're qualified to make a certain pay for most basic sales jobs. Unless you wind up taking like 100% commission. In that case, you're a beast. But most people, when it comes to sales, you're taking a very low base salary because the idea is you get paid through commissions for more than what you're actually, it makes more sense on the commission side. So you're going to get like the bare knuckles, bare minimum. And then the more you work, the more you get paid on commissions. So you work and work and work for commissions. So you'll get paid like twice. For me, it's bi-weekly. So you get paid every other week. And then if you hit your metrics, you get your on target earnings. And then at the end of the month, you'll get your commission pay or your residuals. And that's kind of weird. It really, really messed with me coming from a stable salary every week. I knew what I was going to get, and I got paid weekly. So I was pretty spoiled with my last career. But now I had to completely learn how to rebudget. So what I'm doing now, and what I had to do now is learn how to rebudget. And I am ashamed to say at this big age, that's something I've never been really good at. So I decided to use AI to my advantage, and I'm using this app right now called Origin. And so basically it's only $1 a month. And for that first year, and I can link up all of my bank accounts, loans, credit cards, whatever have you. And I just let the system tell me what I owe. It helps me plan budgets that way. It gives me forecasts. It shows me my net worth. And since I've been really getting into personal development again lately on the financial side, it's something that I know that as I'm learning to be more disciplined physically, mentally, spiritually, and financially, this is something I need to do. I need to know how to budget. I need to look at my accounts every day and see where I need to be, because what's not measured is not improved. And I need all the improvements going forward, not just in my career. So if you're the same way, I'll make sure that I leave a referral link in my description box below, and you can check out Origin for yourself. Again, it's $1 a month. So you can link all of your accounts, and it gives you a real AI data on where you can budget, how you can plan this, what you're bringing in, what you're bringing out, which is super helpful for me right now because I've never had a pay structure like this. This is my first sales job. So that is the biggest thing by far that I've had to get adjusted to. More about the tools. There is going to be a plethora of jargon, like different terms, like I just didn't know. And I think that some of that, especially with my restaurant background, you're just going to have to be a kinesthetic learner and just jump right into it and learn it for yourself, which I did. And it's just so much. Just to give you perspective, I'm in my 30s. I've been out of college for about 10 years now. And aside from like building my online businesses, which is completely different than selling things and pulling up leads to call and cold calling and all of that on the computer, I did not know as much as I thought I did. I knew I was going into restaurant tech sales, and I was pretty restaurant tech savvy at my old restaurant job. I figure, I know about POSs, and I'm always fixing them and figuring it out and tinkering with this and tinkering with the phones. And it is a different ball game out here. They literally mail you a laptop. You have to program it. There's apps on your phone. There's a different process for working at home versus working in the office. It is no small feat. You got somebody wanting to huddle with you or get on a Zoom, or there's emails to respond to, or some type of corporate compliance test. Like, it's like being in school again. And I kind of felt like a baby boomer for that. And I'm a millennial. I am millennial AF. Okay, guys, I was not ready for it. It was an adjustment at first. The first 2 weeks of training for me was like, oh my gosh, even like just being on the screen so much. I had to get like the little blue light clippers, which I showed you guys the tech gadgets that I use in another video. I had to like get blue light screens for my laptop and for my glasses because I was just under the strain, in addition to needing to get a new prescription. But like, it was so much. I thought I was ready for the tech tools, but learning how to use Salesforce on top of knowing some stuff about restaurant technology was a huge change for me. And luckily, I've been adjusting. I feel like overall, my experience changing over from the restaurant world to the tech sales world has been really great. I found a team here despite all obstacles, and people who want to support me, which is beautiful because I'm in a tech space where it's still growing. And when you have a startup like environment, like, there's a lot of opportunity for you to grow with that team. So I'm getting to use my people skills. I'm getting to help restaurant people, and I'm learning the skill of tech sales, where if I decide I don't want to work in restaurant tech anymore, I still have that skill of tech sales on my resume, on top of the plethora of all the other things that I know how to do because I'm an entrepreneur. I have a lot of skills in my bag, and I want to help all of my nieces and nephews that are watching me. So I hope that this was pretty informative for you. I'm planning on making a lot more career videos because this has been like one of the biggest things going on in my life right now. And I'm so excited about it and so happy to share it with you guys. So if you all have any questions, comments, or concern, you know, there's no community without the you and the I. Make sure you leave that below. Check me out on social media. And in the meantime, in between time, it's your girl, Bad on BB. Over and out.